Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, PureForeX _247. Okay guys, for those of you who have been asking me, I should talk about entering, how I enter my trade. All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you how I do enter my trade. All right, I do my entry to increase your risk to reward. Like I always say that our risk to reward ratio is very important in our trading, right? Because if we have a good risk to reward ratio, we don't need many trades to hit our daily target, our weekly target, even our monthly target, right? So we can use two trades to hit more than 10%. We can use two trades to hit 10%, right? So if we have a good risk to reward ratio in our trading strategy, we are going to be profitable no matter the losses, right? So even though we maybe we enter a trade in a particular week and we lost like 3 times and we win 2 times, right? Because our risk to reward ratio is high, the 2 times we will be able to cover up the 3 losses, and then we'll still come out profitable at the end of the week. So that is why risk to reward ratio is very important. So how do you increase your risk to reward ratio with Fantastic 5 setup? All right. So that is what I'm going to talk about in this video, guys. So make sure you share this video, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you leave a comment in the comment section, guys. So this is how I enter my trade when I find a setup. Let's go. So let's say this is this is on H4 time frame. Like you find a setup on H4 time frame, H1 time frame, even M30 time frame. I always want to minimize my risks, right? I don't want to enter a trade on the H4 time frame. For instance, look at this clearly, guys. We have a blind spot here. I have a blind spot here. Let me minimize. Let me zoom out. So this is a blind spot. Yeah, the reason I'm using MT5 because I don't want like MT5 is straightforward, guys. So you can also do your own back testing using your trading view, whatever platform you want to use. All right. So now if we have a blind spot here, right? You know, the market was in an uptrend and then the market came down, break this last bullish engulfing significantly, right? So for those of you who know blind spot, you can easily spot it on the chart irrespective of the time frame. So we have a blind spot here on the H4 time frame. So we are going to mark our blind spots. In my last video, I told you how to mark blind spot, right? So I don't want this video to be too long. So let me just go ahead and mark it. So we're going to mark the blind spots. So we are going to mark it here because this is the first area the market react first. So let's change this to another color. Okay. So this is our blind spots. And how do we enter this trade, right? Because if we enter this trade on directly to H4 time frame, let's say we enter here. Let me put a line there. Okay. Yeah. So let's say you enter the trade here. Where are you going to put your stop loss? Maybe your stop loss is going to be here. So if your stop loss is going to be here, that is to say, this stop loss is going to be too big, right? Or maybe our stop loss is going to be here. So if the stop loss is going to be here, guys, if the stop loss is going to be here, that is almost 143 pips. It's too big, guys. So even if we come down, our stop loss is supposed to be a bit far, right? So even if it's going to be here, we are still having, if you can see, guys, we are having over 103 pips stop loss. So this is what we want to avoid, because if we enter sometime when gold is so volatile, you know, you will have a very high stop loss, right? So let's say we want to put our stop loss here. It's still over here 89 pips. So it's too big, guys. So in this case, this is the major reason why we don't want to enter our trade on the higher time frame, right? Because if I enter a trade with a stop loss of 89 pips to 103 pips, so I'm not going to get a good risk to the reward ratio. So let's say this is the target. We want to take our profit here at this point here, guys. So let me remove this line. So let's say we want to take our profit here at this point. So we are risking 83 pips. Let's say we are risking a bit up. We are risking 112 pips to get 400, guys, to get 400 pips. So that is about 3%, right? Or 3%. But for me, I can always increase my risk to reward ratio. So if I'm targeting this area here, instead of me to get 3% on this trade, I will go to the lower time frame to look for what? To look for another setup, another fantastic five setup. We call it mini setup. So you are going to look for another mini setup within this blind spot H4 setup, right? Let me come again. So if you find a setup on a higher time frame like this, it could be blind spot, it could be a scenario 1 and scenario 2, it could be Quasimodo reversal. Once it is coming from a higher time frame, like daily, like H4, like M30. So this is what you always do. In order to increase your risk to reward ratio, go down to the lower time frame and wait for another setup within, another mini setup, another mini fantastic setup within the setup you found in the bigger time frame, right? So let's go to the lower time frame. Like if you find a setup from the M15 time frame, if you find a setup from H4 time frame, you are going to go down to M15 time frame to look for a mini setup, or you are going to look for M30 M15 time frame. But if the setup is coming from the daily, you are going to be looking at M30 time frame and H1 time frame, right? To look for your mini setup. So here we always, most of the time, we always look at H4 time frame. So now that we have a setup from H4 time frame, let's go down to the lower time frame to see what setup that is presented on the lower time frame for us to be able to take and then increase our risk to reward ratio, right? So let's go to, yeah. Oh my God, let's go back. Where is the setup? Okay. So let's minimize, guys. So if you look at this setup here, you see we found another setup. Guys, can you see? We found another setup here, which is a blind spot here. So we'll come down to the lower time frame and be waiting for what? And be waiting for a mini setup within the setup we found on a bigger time frame. To wait for a mini setup, any of the fantastic setup, it could be and setup like blind and manipulation entry formula blind spot here on M15. We found a blind spot. So let me change the color. So we find a blind spot here, guys. So in this wise, this is where we enter these trades. When we enter here, we are going to put our stop loss above this area now. So you see, we have been able to reduce our stop loss from 100 pips. 103 pips, 89 pips as we try to, put our stop loss close from the H4 is still very big, right? We have been able to reduce that bigger loss size. Now we have 53 pips. So when we go on 53 pips on M15 setup, 53 pips, we put our stop loss above the blind spots. And then if we put 53 pips and go even here, maybe we go to the first, let's go back to H4 time frame. we target, let's say we target this area here, but our overall take profit is going to be here where I marked. So let's say the first take profit is going to be like, let's go back to, yeah. So you see, we risk 53 pips to smash 200 and 203 pips. So this is about 4%, guys. This is about 4%. This is about 4%. All right. So if we should go all the way to our overall target, is going to be up to 8%. So let's go back to H4 time frame. So let me explain this video. Let me take my time to explain so that you guys will know and understand how to increase your risk to reward ratio with your smart entry, right? So let's say this is where we want to take our overall profit. So from here to this point, 416 pips. You know, let's say we risk 54 pips on M15 time frame to smash the overall profit 400. So that is about 8%. But if we enter directly from the H4 time frame, you see from this distance here, where we risk about how many pips, 103 pips to here, is just only 3%. But you can, when you go down to the lower time frame and you enter your trade, you see from that point to this point is about 8%. We have been able to increase our risk to reward ratio from 3% to 8%, right? So, but then price got to this first TP, which we hit us as 4%. From the M15 setup, we get 4% here, and price retraced back. So the setup, this blind spot setup remained valid, right? Price retraced back the next day and give us another opportunity. So that next day, you should be looking for, or you would have been looking for another mini setup on M15 time frame again. So now let's go back to M15 time frame and look at our second opportunity. Right, this is the first opportunity, and price go back here. You know, price hit the first time, no setup here, no mini setup here, right? We wait patiently, price hits here, no mini setup, then price went back up again. And then what happened? Can you recognize this setup? We still also have another blind spot, guys. We have another blind spot. This is another blind spot. You know, this is the bullish engulfing. Price breaks significantly down. So we mark here and then we wait for price to return. You see, price give us another blind spot setup. So it could be Quasimodo reversal, it could be any setup in a lower time frame, but make sure we are looking for any smart entry, any fantastic 5 setup within the setup we found on a bigger time frame in order to maximize high risk to reward ratio. So we find another setup here. Let's say we enter this one here again. When we put our stop loss above, our stop loss is going to be also, this one is also 53 pips. 53 pips also. Yeah, 53 pips also. Then we go on the overall target, which is here. So we also risk 53 pips and gain. So you see the first opportunity we hit 4%. Then this market retraced back to this blind spot again. Then we finally hit about 8%. So total, you see you have been able to manage and gain about 8 plus 4. 8 plus 4, guys, is about 12%. You have gotten 12% only within this blind spot setup on H4 time frame, right? This is how to, you know, look for smart entry, how to enter when you find a setup on a bigger time frame. So let's go further so that I will explain. So now let's clear the chart. I have another setup here I'm going to show you guys. Oh. So if you are enjoying this video, make sure you subscribe, all right? And leave a comment in the comment section. I just decided to give you guys this video so that you can be able to, sometime when I share a setup on my free Telegram channel, this is how you are going to approach when price get to, because I normally share my setup from H4. So when H4, H1, sometime M30. So when I share a setup, try to look for, if it's from M30, you can enter directly, but maybe H1, H4, even M30, you can also wait patiently to look for your mini setup in order to increase your risk to reward ratio to come out victoriously on that trade, right? So right now we have, let me also zoom. We have, SNRC1 here, guys. So when you change to line chart, you can mark this strong support, strong resistance. If you look at this strong resistance, it's in line with the rally-based rally, right? So we mark. So we're going to change the color. Okay. So after changing the color, the thickness, yeah. So when price come back here, this is a SNRC1 on H4 time frame. Are you going to enter here? If we enter on this particular setup, let's say we enter here, our stop loss is going to be a little below here. So it means we are risking, it's too much, right? We are risking up to 100 pips, guys. It's too much now for a lot size, okay? So we are going down to the lower time frame to look for our mini setup, another fantasy 5 or blind spot or manipulation entry, any of the setup that I've been teaching on this channel. That is the setup you are going to look in the lower time frame for you to get. In fact, when you find a setup within this setup you found on the higher time frame, is going to assure you that this setup on the bigger time frame is going to hold 100%, is going to play out 100%, right? So now let's go and find out what is here on M30 or M15. So let's go, guys. Okay, this is M30. What can we find here on M30? Let's go to M15. So when you look at M15, yeah. So when you look at M15, you see we found what we call Quasimodo continuation. So I'm going to show you. That is why you need to sharpen your eyes to see this setup, right? So I'm going to mark it. So I mark it here. So this is what? This is high. This is low, lower low, higher high, guys. So how is it a blind spot? Let's go back to candlestick. So we pick our first line here all the way to where the left shoulder formed. Then we mark this one here. We mark our QMC. So let's change to a different color. So this is the setup we found. On the higher time frame, H4, we found SNRC1, and we come down because we don't want to take our trade from H4 directly because we are going to have a bigger loss size, and we are not going to have a good risk to reward ratio. So we are coming down or scaling down to the lower time frame in order to have a good risk to reward ratio, right? So here, let's say we are risking, we enter here from this line, then we put our stop loss below. So here we are risking 20 pips. This one is 20 pips. So even if you risk 20 pips, let's say your first target is here. Your first target is here at this high here. So you risk 20 pips, you come out with 54 pips, right? So that is about 2%. But let's go back to H4 time frame. Where is the setup? Okay. Let's say we are going to take our profit here at the next high on H4. So here at the next high on H4 time frame, So we're going to take our profit here. The moment our market take out this high, that is where we are going to take our profit, right? So let's go back to the M15 to be able to measure our risk to reward ratio, guys. If you are getting value in this video, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section. So okay, this is M15. So this is our target here, guys. So let's say we risk 20 pips on the H4 high, because we are going to take our profit from the H4 high, which is here where we mark. That is 100 pips. So we risk 20 pips to gain 100 pips. Guys, that is about 5%, 5%. A massive good risk to reward ratio. Guys, this is how to increase your using smart entering or using fantastic 5 on a lower time frame to increase your risk to reward. Your risk to reward ratio, guys. Your risk to reward ratio. This is how to increase your risk to reward ratio. And risk to reward ratio is very important. It's very important because each time let's say you are risking 1% per trade. Each time you lost a trade, you lost 1%. Each time you win, because you know how to manage your entry. Each time you win from 3% to 4% to 5%. So let's say you lost a trade 2 times before you caught this one. This one alone give us 5%. So you'll be able to recover your 2 losses and then you'll still be in 3% gain. This is how risk to reward ratio is going to help you in your trading. So now let's go back to H4. I'm going to show you more. So here, guys, let me delete this one first. So here again, this is the high. This is high, low, lower high, lower low, and then price came back up and then breached this guy here. So this is where the Dow theory was breached, and I keep telling you, whenever the Dow theory is breached, a QM is created. So we have a QM there. So let's go to the line chart. We even trade this QM, right? We trade it live. So this one, this is what? This is the low, this is the high, this is the lower low, and then this is the higher high, right? So let me clear the chart. So we'll go back to the lower and go back to candlestick. Then we mark our rectangular box, guys. Mark our rectangular box here. So change it to so let's go to the M15 time frame. Always, if your setup is coming from H4, always look at M15, M30 to see if you can find a mini setup for you to enter the trade to minimize your risk, because we can't enter on H4. If we enter on H4, our loss is going to be too big and we are not going to have a good risk to reward ratio, guys. So let's go to the lower time frame to see what do we have. M30. Oh, we see a setup here already. We find a setup on M30. But what can we also find here on okay, here on H4, M15, not that clear, but I think we find a setup on M30. So M30, we found a scenario C1, guys. I told you, you can find any setup. This is a strong support. Let me pick my pen. This is a strong support. Yes, this is a strong resistance aligned with what? Aligned with rally, base rally. So that is where we mark. Let's go back to them. So we're going to change this one to blue. That's where we mark this zone for price to return back, then we buy. So here, you're going to buy here. Your TP is going, your stop loss is going to be low. This is, we have let's go on 43 pips. So our overall target is the high here, this one. This is the H4 high here. So that is our overall target. So here we risk 43 pips, and then we gain 230 pips, guys. This is massive. This is massive. This is massive. So we can't get this risk to reward ratio on the H4 time frame directly. So with this one is up to 4 to 5%, right? So now let me show you what if you've also found a setup on M30 time frame or H1 time frame. So let me show you the recent one, the recent QMRO we had. Okay, this is the recent one. Let me clear the chart first. Nope, nope. Guys, I hope you are getting value in this video. So now this QMRO is recent, right? I think we traded this one last 2 weeks or thereabout. Yeah. So we have the market was in a downtrend, then the market breached this structure here. Then we have the low. Let me clear. We have the low, we have the high, we have the lower low, and then we have the higher high. So let's mark our QMRO. So we mark it here. Yep. Then we'll go back to candlestick. We'll mark like this. So this setup also, I share this one free on my Telegram channel, guys. So I'm showing you right now, whenever I drop it, a setup on my Telegram channel, either from the zone of sensitivity, because I don't just look at Fantastic 5 on the chart. When I look at Fantastic 5, whether irrespective of the anytime frame, I do top-down analysis. I know where I'm expecting this Fantastic 5 setup to happen. I don't trade Fantastic 5 in isolation, right? So maybe one day I'm going to show you my full strategy, complete full strategy, right? I'm going to show you how I do my top-down analysis, how I look for trading opportunity before looking for my smart entry to be able to minimize a high risk to reward ratio. But for today, I'm talking about entering, guys. For those of you who want to know my entire strategy, I trade something completely unique from my mentor, Teacher Nora. So if you want to know my full strategy, because it's kind of like modification, right? So if you want to know my full strategy, you can DM me for mentorship. I will teach you my full strategy, right? But for now, enjoy my entry to minimize, because I know those for some of you have been familiar with Fantastic 5 and you have been seeing Fantastic 5 on the chart sometime, but you don't know how to, have a good risk to reward. So if you know what risk to reward mean, you can take 2 trades in a week and then you will be fine. You can take 2 trades and hit your weekly target. You can hit 2 trades and pass your profit account. That is why this video, I feel like this video is going to change the way you enter your trade, the way you take your entry. All right. So now let's change the color. So this is the setup. Now let's go to, like I said, M30, M15. Let's go and look for something, a mini setup there. Let's go back to, let me adjust this line. Okay. So from M30, we can find, but before then, let me show you. M15, we have two, let me show you on M15, we have a blind spot here. We first of all have a blind spot here. the blind spot was activated, but I didn't enter here at first. I didn't enter here. So I found a QM here. So I found a QM here. You see another QM on M30 time frame from the bigger QM from H4. So here we have low, high, lower low, higher high. So on M30, right? So it is an opportunity for us to, wait patiently. Let's go to the lower time frame. Let's go to line chart. So we mark here. Then we mark our rectangular box, change it to blue color for our setup, right? So this is what we did. And we waited patiently and price retraced back. Price will always give you your mini setup. All you have to do is to be patient, guys. All you have to do is to be what? Is to be patient. So this is how the market comes here. So instead of having a bigger lot size, we were able to reduce our lot size. Maybe here, we go on 30. We can put it here 40. We can put it here 34 pips here. So we'll go on 34 pips to 159 pips. So, but also, guys, you can also minimize from H4 time frame. We can even scale down also to the lower time frame, like M5, M1, to look for what? To look for another setup, guys. To look for another setup within this H4, within this M30 Quasimodo reversal. So all of this, you are trying to increase your high risk to reward ratio. You can from H4, if you are, from M30 setup right now, if you can, maybe this setup is going to give you like 4%. When you scale down to the lower time frame like M5 and M1, instead of 4%, you can come out with even 12%. This is how we managed to come out with the high risk to reward ratio. All right. And this video, in fact, I just choose to give you these techniques, so that you'll be able to help yourself whenever you find entry. Once you hit twice in a week, you hit two good trades in a week. That week is massive. Using this technique, these techniques in order for you to increase your high risk to reward ratio, guys. So now let's go to M5 to see if we can find another setup within the M30 QMR setup. So let's go to M5. So guys, let's go back to, yeah. Okay, this is the QMRO M30. So let's go to M15. Let's go to M5. So if we go to M5, yeah, if you go to M5, you see we found another setup here on M5, guys. We found another setup on M5. Let's check out M1. What can you see here on M1, guys? What can you see on M1? We found another setup on M1. M1, we can see a blind spot here, guys. We can see a blind spot here. We can see a blind spot. You see, let me change to a different color. So M1 time frame. From H4 time frame, we have a Quasimodo reversal, and then you scale down to M30, M15. Then we found another Quasimodo, which is a mini setup on M30 time frame. But we still not satisfied because we want to still increase our risk to reward ratio. Then you scale down to M1 because the M1 time frame or M5, because the setup is coming from the M30 time frame. But if it is H4, H1, you can't scale down to M1, right? It's going to be very noisy. So if the setup is coming from H4, H1, like H1, you are going to be looking at M15 also and M5. You are targeting M5, M15. If the setup is from H4, you are targeting M15, M30. If a setup like this, a setup is coming from like M30, right? Then you are going to be considering M1, M5. But in this case, we found a setup, a clear setup here on M1. This is a blind spot. So when we enter here, so we put our stop loss below here. So how much are we risking now? We are risking 20 from 50 something pips, from 40 something pips on M30. The normal QMR on M30 we have about 43 to 40 something pips, right? But on M1, putting our stop loss below here, we have 21 pips. So from 21 pips, we remember we are going to put our overall target from the higher time frame here. So our first overall target is this next high here. So let's say we found, let's go back. Okay. Where is the setup? Yeah. Okay, this high. So, okay. Yeah. So we reached 20 pips here. We reached 21 pips. Okay. Yeah, we reached 20 pips. Then the H4 high, we got 75 pips, right? So this is about 3 point something percent on this particular trade. So guys, we have come to the end of this video, right? So this is how to minimize or how to get your smart entry whenever you find a setup on a bigger time frame. Also, it will help you to increase your risk to reward ratio. Like I always say, risk to reward ratio is very important. It's going to give you opportunity to be able to, maximize your win rate, right? So you don't need many trades. If you are targeting 10%, you don't need to play 7 trades to get 10%. Just 2 trades, you hit your 10%. Just one to two trades, you have gotten your weekly target. Even though you are looking for 20%. Within trading these strategies, trading this method of entering, you're going to hit your 10% within 2 weeks. 20% within 2 to 3 weeks of the month, right? So guys, if you want to understand my full strategy, how I analyze from the top-down analysis, and like most of the time, you don't look for fantastic fight anywhere you see, because there are fantastic fight you see, they will not play out because you don't know where the trend is going. You need to understand the trend so that you look for, it's not every fantastic fight you are going to trade, right? You must have to look for fantastic five in line with the trend. So my method of analyzing, a method of trading, or my full strategy where I do my top-down analysis, I use my zones in line with a lot of confluences to know when price is coming to react before I start looking for my fantastic five, right? So if you want to know, join my mentorship, guys. Otherwise, let's call this video a day, guys. I wish you all the best. I believe you are going to have value, or this video is going to benefit you. So thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.